Well, security is our next focus here in the light of all that will be going on or is going on this festive season. Well, joined now by Rtd Major General Muyiwa Badewole. He's also a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well,
compliments of the season.
Thank you. Looking at security, I mean, this is a very, very important matter because lives, as we see time and again, you hear about explosions. Now you hear about them in markets, car parks, soft targets where people are gathered, and then people have got to be cautious. But from what you've seen about how we're approaching or tackling security, what positives are there, or what should we be doing that we've not done?
Well, thank you very much for having me. During the last interaction I had with you about a month ago, we talked about those factors that you require to counter low-intensity conflicts. And paramount among them is good governance. And of course, we talked about the need to persevere. I mean, this terrorist situation is not going to go away overnight. For instance, Sri Lanka spent about 26 years to defeat the Tamil Tigers. I mean, but going back to the basics, I think we need to be more cautious. We need to develop a more robust approach to tackling the issue of terrorism. In other words, I probably want to say that the situation at hand calls for a political military solution. A lot of people tend to focus on the armed forces. No. For low-intensity conflict, you have to develop a comprehensive strategy. It's just like peacekeeping operations, which is multidimensional, multidisciplinary. It is said that peacekeeping is not for soldiers, but only soldiers can do it. And when you go to theater of operations, you find all elements of national power coming together to solve the problem. The judiciary, the police, the armed forces, the civil society, everybody. Ditto for this situation.
Are we seeing the same thing happening here? Because at times that so many cases now of terrorism, how long have they been in the courts? People wonder.
Well, you see, I have also said so that particularly when we're discussing the state of emergency, we talked about the fact that the issue has been politicized, and we talked about the fact that the political leadership, the National Assembly, needs to work closely with the executive in tackling this problem. We need to draw up a bipartisan approach in tackling the issue we have at hand.
So can we say that politics is to some extent hindering our success in this fight?
Your guess is as good as mine. We have said it here, a lot of people have said it, that politics has a major role to play. Why would the National Assembly refuse to extend the state of emergency, despite the fact that the National Security Council had already advised Mr. President, and Mr. President already wrote to the National Assembly on the desirability or otherwise. And I also told you the last time that extraordinary measures are required to confront terrorism. I mean, you recall that before the 9/11 episode in the US, we didn't have Homeland Security. We didn't have the Patriot Act. People go to the airport 30 minutes before departure to go and catch their flight. But now if you don't go to the airport at least 3 hours before your flight, you will miss it. Because you have to go through a lot of security checks. Even in the US, you remove your shoe, you remove your belt, they screen you, they do everything. It's inconveniencing. But that is the price we need to pay for us to get it right.
Well, you know, 2 days ago, there were attacks in North. Gombe suffered an attack in the motor park. Bauchi suffered an attack in the market, in the central market. And just the week before, the National Information Center was out with information telling Nigerians to be on the alert that they have reports that terrorists are going to be out during this season to cause plenty of havoc. From what you've said in terms of the park that we covered, would you say that we're really putting in an apparatus to check, or even if we have one, because we did see some people there searching, would you say it is sufficient, or would you say that we're doing it the proper way?
Well, without prejudice to the positions of the armed forces and security agencies who are handling terrorism situation, I probably have not seen the security architecture. There's a need for us to have a grand national security plan to tackle this situation. I mean, if you look at the US situation, when they have a serious national issue confronting them, they put together eminent persons group, professors, lawyers, generals, civil servants, senior citizens. They put them together. It could be about 50 of them to brainstorm and come up with a blueprint for tackling that particular problem. I mean, the US in coming up with their national security strategy, they did the same thing. You follow what I'm saying? They do the same thing. We need to do it. We need to think out of the box. We need to think out of the box. And we also need to look beyond those who are occupying specific offices and look at who can assist us in overcoming this serious challenge we have.
Before, General, you talked about the fact that we need socio-political approach.
Come again?
You said we need a socio-political approach to curbing insurgency.
Political military.
Political military approach.
Yes.
Yeah. But there are those who believe that the military is the one killing itself, that the military is killing itself from within.
How do you mean?
We have several times we've heard about court martials. I mean, that's a tool in the military to discipline your men. But if you're having it as frequently as they're going on now, doesn't it paint a picture of something wrong within the military structure?
Well, again, the last time we were here, I told you that the drafter of the Armed Forces Act envisaged that offenses will be committed even during peacetime, including wartime. I mean, people are bound to make acts of omission. And when that happens, the military justice system must be brought to bear. I mean, when you look at the civil society, criminals are taken to court on a daily basis. You know, issues are taken to court on a daily basis.
But they are not sentenced to death on a daily basis.
Come again?
Are they sentenced to death on a daily basis?
Well, you see, the thing is, I think you are being emotional now. When you look at... Let me finish.
Okay.
When you look at mutiny, it's like when you want to levy war or wage war on your country, or you involve in anything that amounts to levy war. The rules are there and the penalties are clearly stated. If you carry out any mutinous act, you face the music. And people know what they are supposed to do, what they are not supposed to do. So when you look at the percentage of those that are facing a court martial in relation to the larger picture, it's quite infinitesimal. You understand? So
why am I asking this question is because Nigerians, Nigerians living in these areas where the insurgents seem to be operating, they are worried, they are scared, and their confidence is in their military. Now, if they keep hearing that these ones who are supposed to be protecting us are going through this, there's a tendency for them to begin to worry. Where are the men that are supposed to be protecting us? We're saying they're not even enough. We're saying that they're not on ground. We're saying that they're not equipped enough as much as the insurgents are. Now, that's the picture that they are painting out there. So, if we're saying this about our men, how is it that the few that we are seeing are being transported out for court martials? So that's what Nigerians will be wondering.
Well, let me tell you that even if you increase the strength, in other words, you make a surge, additional surge, you create additional division in that general area, offenses will still be committed. People will still run foul of the law. And the military justice system must run its course.
Yeah, but the question is, how does this affect morale within the military itself? I mean, we do know for a fact that there was a time when there were complaints that the military were not well equipped, yet they were doing their best within the circumstance. Soldiers were still asked to go and fight, and they did the best they could. But people will ask, and we must know that this must have come at great sacrifice to them.
Yes.
So when we say that some people refuse to go and fight, do we sometimes take into cognizance the reasons why they refuse to go and fight? And then how does this also affect, you know, the morale of those that are left behind? Because if we look at the numbers, if we're to go with the numbers of people being prosecuted and being sentenced, the people facing court-martial and being sentenced to death, it would seem that it's increasing incrementally. We first of all had about 27, then we had about 54 who have been sentenced. Now another 100 are to be court-martialed. We don't know whether all of them will be sentenced, but it would seem that the numbers are gradually increasing. Do you think that this could have an effect on morale of troops, and maybe it's accounting for the increase that we're seeing?
Well, let me answer the question by telling you that the fear of sanction makes a lot of people to conform. And punishment is a deterrent to military offenses. And for those who have put their hands in the plow to join the army, they know the rules. The military profession is not a tea party. It's serious business. You have put your hands in the plow to defend your country. So if you exhibit out of cowardice, you should be ready to face the music. If you go away without leave and you are caught, you should be ready to face the music. I mean, the argument can go on and on. When you look at military discipline vis-a-vis civilian discipline, they are not entirely the same. You understand? There's a doctrine of compact that says the soldier is subject to both civil and the military law.
Well, is there anything?
And the military law is very